I was working on an upcoming video that highlights a string of interactions with cops where different members of the public ply policy enforcers with the same ridiculous questions they ask us. Of course, no interaction could be complete without James Freeman's classic upload asking cops the same silly questions they ask us. Cop car searched. If you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself to give it a watch. It's 25 minutes of pure and unique gold. You won't find another video quite like it on the entire internet. Possibly inadvertently, in this one video, James unearths the mother lode of psychologically revealing truths. And that's this: people are easily, and I mean very easily, brought to bow before the throne of authority to the point where they will actually heap praises on an agent of the authoritarian regime for the most shallow of reasons. In this video, a deputy for the Texas Criminal Interdiction Unit submits to many of James' requests, allows him to look inside his car and through two of his bags, and Deputy Yount even opens compartments in the back and his cruiser's glove box, revealing an assortment of diet pills. James tells the cop that he'd like him to sit on the curb and disarm for his own safety, to which Deputy Yount politely declined. All in all, the deputy comes off as a nice, friendly, cordial, and respectful guy. And that right there is where we get our psychological wake-up call, testifying to the ease with which people drop their guard and begin applauding dangerous and hypocritical state functionaries. The most popular comment under this video has 40,000 likes as of the recording of this video. And I can only imagine this number will climb as the years go by. Knuckle Freak says, this cop was extremely respectful and did exactly what you thought he wouldn't. This officer deserves respect big time. Now, it would be impossible to highlight all the pertinent aspects of these responses because they're angles that it would take many of us to consider. So I open up myself to your input on this. Joe Monroe responds to Knuckle Freak, he was on camera. To which Knuckle Freak responds, it doesn't matter. There was definitely professionalism there. Many cops are on camera and decide to act in a complete opposite way. Don't steal the man's glory. Now, I think both of these views are valid, and I'll tell you why. Deputy Yount could well have been on his best behavior because he knows that there's a potential that a lot of people could view his actions. Absent the camera, things could have gone in a completely opposite direction. But I think Knuckle Freak also makes a good point that cops are on camera all the time and they still can't help themselves. They act like sapsuckers anyway. But does this mean the cop deserves big time respect? In reality, while James' video is entertaining and instructive, no man should want to go through another man's belongings. Yes, Deputy Yount is a public servant and should be as transparent as is appropriate to be, but the greater point is, and the thing that makes this whole line of questioning truly ridiculous, is not that the script is being flipped, it's that there's a constitution trampling script in the first place. Cops shouldn't be out there fishing for an opportunity to violate our rights to be secure in our property. That's the bottom line. Does this deputy or any cop deserve big time respect because they just so happen to do some things that appear to be transparent and constitutional? How do we know that there weren't evils that this deputy brought on his fellow man before this interaction with James? Would we say Deputy Yount deserves respect if we learned later that he's responsible for caging 35 men and women during his career for non-violent so-called drug crimes? Now, I don't know if he has, but that's a possibility. What if after he left James, he violated somebody's rights, causing them a lifetime of hardship? would we be standing in line to pat him on the back then, simply because he did something we approve of in a 25-minute YouTube video? Are we that easily swayed? Unfortunately, the answer is yes, we are that easily swayed. The next most liked comment under this video, which has 30,000 likes, comes from CB. He says, "You actually picked the wrong cop to do this with. He's a good guy." To which Joseph McVeigh writes, "Not all cops are bad guys." That has 1.1 thousand likes. Is that really all it takes to wipe out a career of badged criminality? Let me just remind you that criminal interdiction units like Deputy Yount is a part of primarily occupy their time conducting roadside piracy and terrorist operations. They're out there creating criminals of innocent people as part of the antiquated drug enforcement policies that are still in place. They're playing their role in filling the walls of the prison industrial complex for their political masters. And you don't even have to be running drugs or doing anything wrong or even be suspected of committing a crime to get thrown into jail and have your property seized under their insane civil asset forfeiture policies. And if you doubt that, check out this video right here. The link will be in the description. Other comments are, "This man isn't a cop, he's an ideal role model for cops." Yeah, in parts of this interaction, perhaps. But the problem I see forming here stems from believing the man himself to be good simply because he acted like a halfway decent human being during this interaction. Can we say that from the standpoint of being a public servant and welcoming transparency, he did some good things? Sure. But does this in itself make the man himself one that all cops should aspire to emulate? I think that would be a naive stretch. Jeep Stuff says, "Cop is very reasonable. Need more like him. He should get everyone's respect." Now, I'll be the first to admit that I thought the way the cop acted was, for the most part, a breath of fresh air. I'll even admit to dropping my guard because I, like many of you, want to believe that these uniformed men have the best intentions for the rest of us. But then reason kicks in and it tells my emotions to take a seat and shut up. Nad writes, "I'm halfway done with the vid, and I have to say, this sheriff's deputy was amazing with how he handled all the questions. That is a good cop." Rockham says, "This cop has no ego. Great guy, great cop, just a quiet professional." Now, no part of this video is to be construed as me raking people over the coals for leaving a positive comment for this deputy. For the most part, he did good. My only critique, if you even want to call it that, it's more of an observation, is that most of us are good-hearted people. We want to see the good in everything and everybody. And sometimes that can work against us. I don't believe for a second that somebody who voluntarily signed on the dotted line to enforce all the unjust, unfair, and evil laws on his fellow Americans can possibly be a good person at heart, no matter how many good acts he's performed on his way to the next piracy operation. This video brought to mind that part of the Declaration of Independence where the framers succinctly addressed this very vulnerability and had the wisdom to write it down. Quote, "All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Our greatest attributes, kindness, loyalty, faithfulness, forgiveness, and a willingness to give those who've wronged us another chance, are strategically used against us by the powers that shouldn't be. Most of us just want to turn the other cheek. We want to go along to get along. Our sad reality is that sinister psychopaths and their authoritarian enforcement henchmen know this and leverage our good nature against us. They know that we will tolerate wrongs done to us for as long as possible before we dare to do anything about it. The question is, how do we escape this trap of forgiveness and being a good person without becoming overly cynical? Now, if I'm wrong or unbalanced on this, let me have it in the comments section. If you flat out agree or disagree, let me hear from you. If you have another perspective, type it out and hit reply. I'll leave James' link in the description. If you visit him, let him know Here's the Deal sent you. He's been knocking it out of the park as usual and deserves every view he gets. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. That's highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab a shirt, become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are, stand for your rights, and exercise your rights. If you don't exercise your rights, you will lose them. I'll see you in the next video.